Two brutal mafia syndicates and a network of rogue officers just triggered a deadly conspiracy, but they made one fatal mistake: they forgot about the city's most lethal, honest cop. So, without wasting any time, let's dive right into it. The story kicks off in the dark underbelly of the city, where a ruthless gangster named Tomo is brutally torturing an undercover cop named Young, leaving him half dead on the floor. But just as the beatdown reaches its peak, Tomo's powerful partner, Ju Sung-chul, steps into the room, revealing their massive operation of smuggling a deadly new drug from Japan. And when Sung-chul realizes Detective Young has been sniffing around their territory, his eyes turn cold, ordering his men to finish the cop off and dump his lifeless body straight into the ocean. The next morning, the city streets are in absolute chaos as a gang of ruthless thugs starts terrorizing local shopkeepers, drawing a massive crowd of helpless onlookers. But the party quickly ends when the legendary beast cop, Ma Suk-do, casually strolls onto the scene, calmly telling the gang leader to pack up his circus and get lost, which only makes the punks laugh, completely unaware of the mountain of muscle standing right in front of them. Losing his patience, Suk-do unleashes hell, throwing devastating, earth-shattering punches that leave the thugs folded on the concrete, and in a desperate bid to survive, the terrified leader pulls out a switchblade, but Suk-do just smirks, telling him to look behind him, and the moment the idiot turns his head, Suk-do plants a brutal, lightning-fast right hook straight across his jaw, knocking him out cold. Just as the dust settles, local police arrive on the scene ready to arrest everyone, only for Suk-do to casually pull out his badge, revealing he is actually the newly transferred officer of the Metropolitan Crime Division, sent here to clean up the streets. And after arriving at his new precinct, he immediately heads out to a grim crime scene where a 28-year-old woman named Jean has mysteriously plunged to her death from her high-rise apartment, with the only clue pointing to a notorious hotspot called the Orange Club. Desperate for answers, Suk-do pays a visit to the forensic lab, where the coroner reveals a chilling truth: Jean didn't just jump, her body was completely shattered, and she was heavily riding a lethal high from a dangerous new synthetic drug called Superman, which likely caused her to lose her mind. And even though Suk-do's commanding officer demands he hand the case over to the narcotics division, our rogue detective completely ignores the order, grabbing his partner and heading straight into the neon-drenched depths of the Orange Club. With the help of a sketchy local contact, they slip past the heavy security, finding a chaotic dance floor below. But Suk-do's sharp eyes lock onto the heavily guarded VIP section upstairs, where a couple of rich college kids are actively getting high. And when a massive bouncer tries to block his path, Suk-do doesn't argue, delivering a single, bone-crushing punch that folds the giant like a cheap lawn chair before stepping straight into the VIP bathroom. Catching a drug dealer red-handed handing off a stash to a kid, Suk-do secretly follows him to a private backroom, then doubles back to confiscate the drugs from the terrified teen, before storming into the VIP suite where the dealer is partying with a guy and a girl. And instead of arresting them immediately, Suk-do hilariously starts snapping close-up photos of their terrified faces, completely breaking their confidence. And when one of them tries to fight back, Suk-do grabs him by the face and slams him into the floor like a rag doll, effortlessly taking down the waves of security guards that rush in to stop him. Demanding to know who runs the joint, Suk-do hunts down the club owner, who is busy singing karaoke with a group of girls, and when the arrogant boss tries to swing at him, Suk-do absolutely demolishes him, dragging his bruised body and the club's security footage back to the precinct. And as they watch the tape, they see a heavily intoxicated Jean and her friend receiving the lethal Superman drug right inside the club, prompting Suk-do to lock the owner in an interrogation room to squeeze him for the supplier's name. When the stubborn owner refuses to talk, Suk-do casually orders his team to start cleaning up the office, a code that leaves the owner completely confused until the detectives block the security cameras with a cleaning cloth, and Suk-do delivers a brutal, desk-shattering punch right to his face. And with the threat of another cleaning session looming, the terrified owner spills everything, pointing them to a mysterious woman and her brother who run a shady bar in the Gangnam district, leading Suk-do and his crew straight to the locked venue, where he kicks the door off its hinges, immediately breaking the brother's hand before giving him a mocking slap on the backside, ready to tear the entire place apart for the next lead. During the intense raid, Detective Suk-do uncovers 2 hidden packets of the lethal new Superman drug, tossing them directly in front of a terrified woman and her brother. Under aggressive questioning, the siblings quickly break, confessing that a mysterious distributor named Hiroshi forced them to push the pills on the streets, threatening to brutally murder them if they refused. and revealing that Hiroshi operates directly under a ruthless Japanese syndicate. Hearing this vital lead, Suk-do immediately contacts his senior officer, urging him to mobilize and raid Hiroshi's safe house without delay. Accompanied by 2 backup officers, the senior breaches the compound, delivering a brutal beatdown to Hiroshi and his thugs before placing them under arrest. But during a thorough sweep of the property, they strike absolute gold, uncovering 20 kilograms of the pure Superman drug alongside a service revolver belonging to a missing police officer. Knowing the astronomical black market value of this massive haul, the senior quickly loads Hiroshi and the suspects into the transport vehicle, dialing Suk-do to brief him on the incredible bust. But mid-call, disaster strikes as a speeding vehicle blindsides them in a devastating, high-velocity crash, leaving the officers and suspects severely injured and trapped inside the mangled wreckage. Out of the smoke, 3 masked figures emerge with cold, calculated precision, immediately snatching the bag containing the 20 kilograms of drugs, before one of them approaches the bleeding Hiroshi, beating him to death in the wreckage to silence him forever. Retreating to an isolated, abandoned lot, the trio burns their blood-soaked clothing to erase all evidence, revealing their true identities as the corrupt narcotics detective Ju Sung-chul and his rogue officers. It turns out, Hiroshi was working under a Japanese distributor named Tomo, but because Hiroshi's failure put the entire operation at risk, a furious Sung-chul storms Tomo's hideout, unleashing an animalistic beating on him. During this violent confrontation, the dark truth is laid bare. Tomo actually works for Chairman Saito, the legendary head of the Japanese Yakuza, and those stolen drugs belong to Saito himself, smuggled out of Japan by Tomo for a massive, unauthorized payday. And the only reason Tomo plays along with Sung-chul's demands is because Sung-chul is a powerful, high-ranking narcotics officer who could easily dismantle his entire life in a matter of minutes, leaving him bruised and terrified. Sung-chul hands the drugs back to Tomo, ordering him to have them perfectly packaged by tomorrow because he has already lined up a shady buyer willing to pay over $25 million for the shipment. Meanwhile, a devastated Suk-do arrives at the hospital, discovering that his senior is currently fighting for his life in the intensive care unit with severe trauma from the crash. As Tomo desperately tries to meet his deadline, he recruits a black market packer named Kong to package the massive shipment in place of the deceased Hiroshi. Back at the hospital, Suk-do is met by Officer Mi, who delivers a chilling update. The revolver recovered from Hiroshi's hideout belongs to Detective Jang, an honest undercover cop who went missing while trying to dismantle the city's rising drug syndicates. Years ago, the Yakuza had partnered with a local cartel known as the White Sharks to flood the streets, until the narcotics division successfully wiped the White Sharks off the map, leaving a massive power vacuum with nobody knowing who was currently running the Yakuza's supply chain. Determined to find answers, Suk-do and his partner head straight to the narcotics headquarters to meet the elite team behind that original bust, only to find themselves standing face to face with Ju Sung-chul and his team, the very men who destroyed the White Sharks, not to enforce the law, but to seize control of the drug empire for themselves. When Suk-do tries to press for details about the old case, a smug Sung-chul completely stonewalls him, throwing condescending insults to throw him off the scent, pushing Suk-do's legendary temper to the absolute boiling point. Just as Suk-do is about to unleash his devastating fists, his partner desperately restrains him, dragging him out of the precinct before an internal war erupts. Refusing to back down, Suk-do uncovers a fresh lead on a shady car dealer named Min, who also runs a high-end nightclub notorious for distributing the Superman drug. Marching directly into Min's territory to demand answers, Suk-do is met with immediate hostility, as Min grabs a weapon and lunges at the detective in a desperate attempt to take him down. But Suk-do shuts him down instantly, knocking Min completely unconscious with a single, devastating punch before dragging him in for questioning. Once Min finally wakes up, Suk-do demands to know exactly who is supplying the Superman drug to his club. Trembling with fear, Min pulls out photos of Kong and Tomo, identifying them as the primary distributors flooding the venue with pills. Meanwhile, back in Japan, the powerful Chairman Saito learns that Tomo has betrayed the syndicate and stolen the 20 kilograms of drugs. In a fit of rage, Saito contacts his most lethal and merciless cleaner, Ricky, ordering him to hunt down the traitors and recover the shipment, a task Ricky accepts with cold indifference. By the following day, the corrupt cop Sung-chul is already meeting with a major Chinese buyer named Madame Myung to finalize the deal, but as Myung aggressively demands the immediate delivery of the product. Sung-chul receives a frantic call from Tomo. Tomo warns him that Saito knows about their betrayal and has dispatched a legendary killer to eliminate them, declaring that he is taking the drugs and going deep underground until the heat dies down. Tomo abruptly hangs up, leaving a furious Sung-chul to apologize to Myung, desperately bargaining for a 2-day extension to locate his rogue partner. At the same time, the ruthless Ricky arrives in the city, heading straight for Tomo's front office with his lethal squad. They brutally torture Tomo's underlings for his whereabouts, but when none of them break, Ricky massacres them all without a second thought, continuing his relentless manhunt. On the other side of town, Suk-do uses men to gain access to the club, aggressively interrogating the staff for any leads on Tomo's location. When met with stubborn silence, Suk-do resorts to his signature, bone-crushing interrogation tactics, eventually spotting Kang trying to blend into the crowd. Cornering the terrified Packer, Suk-do unleashes a brutal beatdown, ignoring Kang's bizarre pleas about having severe stomach issues. The relentless pressure causes the humiliated Kang to completely lose control of his bowels, but desperate to escape further physical agony, he quickly confesses Tomo's secret apartment hideout. But Ricky's squad has already tracked Tomo down first, cornering him in his apartment and threatening a slow, painful death, believing he holds the ultimate leverage. Tomo arrogantly claims that if they kill him, they will never locate the hidden drugs. Unfazed by the threat, Ricky orders his men to throw Tomo into the trunk of their car to be tortured elsewhere. Just as they head down, Suk-do pulls into the apartment parking lot, instantly spotting Tomo trapped inside Ricky's moving vehicle. Suk-do moves in to intercept them, but Ricky's henchmen ambush him, only to be systematically demolished by the detective's heavy-handed brawling. But before Suk-do can pull Tomo from the vehicle, Ricky rams him hard with the car, knocking the detective aside and securing their escape. Nursing his injuries, Suk-do yells at his partner to start their vehicle and give chase, but the engine stalls out, letting the killers slip away. Moments later, Sung-chul arrives at the chaotic scene, realizing from the heavy police presence that someone else has already snatched Tomo. In a secluded hideout, Ricky subjects Tomo to unspeakable torture to force the location of the drugs, but when Tomo refuses to break, Ricky loses his patience, brutally executing him and dumping his lifeless body. The next morning, news of Tomo's murder reaches Suk-do, who immediately corners Kang once again to figure out who had the power to put a hit on a Yakuza lieutenant. Kang insists that only the Yakuza High Command could have authorized the hit, while casually mentioning that another highly influential partner was helping them distribute the product. Suk-do realizes that Tomo wasn't working alone, and that a powerful shadow partner, whom we know as Sung-chul, is pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Before Suk-do can dig deeper into this mysterious accomplice, he receives a grim call from the precinct. The bloated body of Detective Jang, the undercover officer murdered by Tomo and Sung-chul at the start of our story, has finally washed ashore. Sung-chul is also present at the active crime scene, masking his boiling rage over the missing shipment. That night, Sung-chul dispatches one of his corrupt officers to tear Tomo's apartment apart, convinced the 20 kilograms of drugs are hidden inside. But after exhaustive search, they find absolutely nothing. Unfortunately for them, Ricky has reached the exact same conclusion. Ricky and his killers storm the apartment, trapping Sung-chul's rogue officer alone and savagely slaughtering him. The following day, as a frustrated Sung-chul surveys the bloody crime scene with the local police, his phone rings. It is Chairman Saito himself, offering a simple ultimatum: return the stolen drugs, and he will let Sung-chul live. But the corrupt narcotics detective refuses to show fear, coldly telling the Yakuza boss that even if he did have the shipment, he would never hand it over, before hanging up the phone, drawing a deadly line in the sand. But Sung-chul himself was also very troubled because after a little while, he had to deliver the drugs to Madame Myung. Therefore, he left from there to desperately search for the drugs, and a short time after this, Suk-do arrives at Tomo's house. Arriving there, he finds out that perhaps last night, Sung-chul's partner had come to Tomo's house to look for something. Hearing this, Suk-do feels it is a bit strange, and now he suspected that somewhere or the other, Sung-chul is also mixed up with these people. Therefore, he goes to his office once again to meet Sung-chul, but unfortunately, Sung-chul was not present there. So Suk-do starts questioning Sung-chul's partner, but as he too did not want to tell Suk-do anything about Sung-chul, he insults Suk-do and tells him to leave from there, which proves to be his biggest mistake because this time, Suk-do could not control his rage and he brutally breaks the hand of Sung-chul's partner. Then Suk-doo's partner starts dragging him away from there, during which Kang was also with them. By now, Suk-doo had come to know that Sung-chul is also somewhere or the other behind those 20 kilograms of Superman drugs, but Suk-doo did not know the location of the drugs, nor did he have any concrete proof with which he could prove Sung-chul guilty. Just then, Kang tells them that in earlier times, the Yakuza used to run their drug cartel from the shipyard, and it is highly possible that those drugs are hidden there too. Hearing this, Suk-doo immediately starts heading to the yard with both of them. Meanwhile, Sung-chul now arrives to meet Myung, but as he did not have the drugs, he asks Myung for a little more time. But hearing his excuses, Myung's man starts shouting and abusing Sung-chul. This makes Sung-chul so violently angry that he beats that man to death right in front of Myung, and completely covered in blood, promises Myung that I will bring those drugs for you as soon as possible, to which Myung also agreed. Meanwhile, Suk-doo had also reached the shipyard by now, where some Yakuza thugs were present in a room. Seeing them, Suk-doo beats them brutally and starts demanding answers about the drugs, but they too had no news about the stash, and even if they had news, they would have told Saito about it first, but now they had definitely confirmed this much that Tomo had come there a day ago. Hearing this, Suk-doo became absolutely sure that the drugs are definitely there. Then, searching the room, his eyes fell on a key card named Lucy, which was the key to a ship standing nearby, and as that ship belonged to Tomo, Suk-doo now goes onto the vessel to investigate. During this, he finds a safe present inside the ship, and not knowing its password, Suk-doo breaks its door itself, but the drugs were not in that safe, there were just some ropes in it, seeing which, Suk-doo did not understand anything at first. Then suddenly, his eyes fell on a rope tied tightly to the side of the ship, and he understood that Tomo must have tied one end of the rope to the ship and the bag of drugs to the other end, throwing the bag into the water. Therefore, he now pulls that rope up, and the heavy bag comes in front of him. Now, taking the haul, Suk-doo goes straight back to Min, who earlier used to work for the White Shark Gang too. Suk-doo tells him, Min, call Sung-chul right now and tell him that I have your drugs, and if you want them back, you will have to give me money. Actually, Suk-doo's plan was to call Sung-chul this way and catch him red-handed. Then Min does exactly the same, during which, initially, Sung-chul was not believing Min's words. But when Min sends him his photo with the drugs, Sung-chul instantly agrees to meet him and give him the money. Now, although at that time, Sung-chul was standing outside a building to assassinate Ricky, but as he had now come to know about the drugs, for the safe side, he goes in front of Ricky himself and takes him at gunpoint, during which Ricky had also placed his katana on his neck. But Sung-chul tells him that I don't want any trouble, that's why I'm telling you a location. Go to a man there, take your drugs from him, and never show me your face again. Ricky also agreed to this and reaches that location, where Min was going to arrive in a little while. Now, when Min enters that warehouse-like place carrying the bag of drugs, seeing Ricky instead of Sung-chul there, his wits were completely frightened because he understood that Ricky would kill him and would not even give him the money. But before Min could come back out from there, Ricky's associates catch him, and they were just about to take his life. Before that, Suk-doo arrives there to save Min. But right then, Ricky's henchman strikes Suk-doo from behind, hitting his head twice and knocking him completely unconscious. Once awake, Ricky tears open the duffel bag, only to find it stuffed with ordinary salt instead of the multi-million-dollar haul. Consumed by pure rage, he orders his men to throw the unconscious detective into their vehicle and haul him back to their main hideout. Meanwhile, the real drugs were safe inside a getaway car with Suk-doo's partner in Kang, but the brilliant Sung-chul had already seen right through Suk-doo's sting operation, intercepting the vehicle himself to snatch the authentic drug shipment before speeding into the night. Back at the enemy headquarters, Ricky's brutal thugs relentlessly beat the tied-up Suk-doo, as Ricky demands to know the exact coordinates of his missing product, but a defiant Suk-doo refuses to say a single word. Suddenly, Sung-chul calls Ricky's phone, mockingly bragging that he has the drugs in his possession and that the Yakuza will never see them again. Slamming the phone down in an absolute fury, Ricky turns around, only to find that Suk-doo has already broken free and is systematically obliterating his entire squad. Suk-doo unleashes a whirlwind of devastating, heavy-handed strikes, instantly dropping anyone who crosses his path. Stepping up to face the monster himself, Ricky draws his weapon and attempts to fight back, but Suk-doo counters with a barrage of bone-crushing blows, completely neutralizing the deadly Yakuza cleaner for good. At the exact same time, Sung-chul is scrambling to escape the country, packing the massive stash and charting a course for the international airport to flee straight to China. But mid-route, Suk-do catches up, violently ramming Sung-chul's vehicle in a high-speed crash to shut down his escape route. Refusing to surrender, a bloodied Sung-chul grabs the drug bag and sprints into a nearby commercial building, completely unaware that Suk-do had hidden a tracking device inside the lining of the bag from the very beginning. Following the signal directly to his position, Suk-do corners the corrupt narcotics captain, unleashing an absolute storm of cinematic violence on the traitor. Cornered and desperate, Sung-chul tries to buy his freedom, offering Suk-do a clean 50-50 split of the massive black market profits if he lets him walk. But Suk-do is completely incorruptible, ignoring the millions of dollars and delivering one final, earth-shattering punch that leaves Sung-chul broken and unconscious on the concrete floor. As the sirens wail and backup units flood the facility to secure the arrests, Suk-do quietly walks out into the night. A few days later, with their senior officer fully recovered from his injuries, Suk-do and his tight-knit squad gather at their favorite local restaurant to celebrate their massive victory, raising a glass to justice as the story draws to a triumphant close. So if you enjoyed this ride, make sure to smash that subscribe button, leave a like, and drop your thoughts down in the comments below, because I'd love to know what you think.